By now, you've seen my review of this, the MG1 crossover, a vehicle that personally I find to be quite impressive in so many different ways, and I think is going to make a very big impact here in the Philippine market. But what if I told you, for almost the exact same money as that, you can go EV with the MG4 hatchback? Is that going to be something that's worth your while and worth your money? Let's find out. Hey everyone, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and what I've got for you today is the MG4 EV, the standard version, as well as the MG1 Lux version that we reviewed earlier. If you want to see my full take of the MG1, you can tap in the info card right up here, no, thereabouts. Our editor Zach will have a fun time putting that in over there. But anyways, we put these vehicles together because we wanted to gain a bit of perspective. You see, in terms of price, there's not much between the two. But in terms of purpose and drive, there's actually quite a bit. But first, let's focus on the MG4. So let's get the MG1 out of the way. So, onto the MG4. It's a subcompact hatchback, 5-door, similar in size to around a Yaris. But the look, really striking. If anything, it's kind of reminding me of a Mazda 3 there or thereabouts, maybe a little bit smaller than that, particularly with the way they do the color and the design. I mean, look at how sharply they designed the front, their very liberal use of lines and creases and all that stuff. It just looks really good when you come across one of these on the road. I like what they did with the hood with the little dip there. It kind of seems very sports car-ish. That's something I like. The MG logo, the octagon logo, looks very nice. The LED headlights here. You'll see SAIC vision on a lot of these vehicles. I mean, same with the MG1 when we reviewed it. You'll see a SAIC LED vision there. Same with the taillights. But really, the look is nice. The color is nice. One thing I did notice, they need to work on the color matching a little bit because the color of this is a bit brighter compared to this. That's a common thing when you switch from a metal surface to a plastic surface. From that angle, you can see that the vehicle is not very big. It's just under 4.3 meters long. But yeah, when it comes to design, I think they really did nail it, even though there is a discrepancy here, very minor thing. But the play of the red and the black is really nice, and it's a color that I really do like. But I'll give you 3 seconds to guess to see if there's something unusual about the exterior of the vehicle. Let's count it down. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you guessed the wheels, then you're right, because this vehicle comes with 17-inch steel wheels, not alloys. It has a full black cap over there, but it's really a steel wheel underneath. I haven't seen one of those in a car that I've reviewed in quite a long time. Now, the reason for the steel wheels is because they needed to do some savings, because the focus here is, of course, the EV drive system. And later we'll discuss that, but underneath you have the batteries. Those are very costly, and the components and the technology in here are going to be very costly. So they wanted to focus on that, but try to save on a few things to be able to offer it at a lower price. More on that a little bit later. I really have to give it to the designers at MG. I think they really nailed it with this one, because look at what they did with the rear. Now, it does have these really large one-piece taillights right here that kind of occupies the corner of the vehicle. It has this, I don't know how to describe it, pattern. Even has this detail up here, which is very nice. And it all just lights up very well. Let me try to light it up for you. See that? I mean, it just looks really good. They even have this diffuser kind of thing going on there. It's not a real diffuser, but still, it looks good. There are no fake tailpipes on this one, of course. It would just really look silly on an EV. Has the MG logo there, Brit Dynamic here. This part here also, the tailgate, you can see it does kick up like a spoiler, which is rather nice. One thing this is missing compared to the other MG4 that I drove, the higher end version, this one doesn't get the spoiler over here, the double spoiler thing. So, I don't know. I mean, I think I like the design of the previous one with here, but overall, still looks pretty good. Now, when we pop open this, it's not a motorized tailgate, so that's to be expected. But the dimensions here, with the seats folded, up, it's about 29 and then 37 inches over there. The height here is about 18 and goes up to around just a little under 30 over here. Now, with the rear seats folded, The length goes all the way up to 54, which is pretty respectable for a vehicle of this size. Remember, we're looking at a subcompact here, not a compact vehicle. But if you need to change a tire, you can't because this one does not have a spare. Because underneath here, it's only a tire repair kit. You don't get a donut space saver spare tire in this vehicle. You know what? Maybe they have one under the hood. Let's go take a look. Nope, no spare tire under here. So that means if you do get a flat, you will have to do some work with the tire repair kit over there in the back. Now, when we look at what's under the hood, there's no engine here. There's not even a motor here. Because the motor, we checked, we had to double and triple check. It's not in the front, it's in the back. And we say you had to check because the literature of this one, it says it's a front-wheel drive, at least here in the Philippines. But that's not true. This is a rear-wheel drive just like everywhere else around the world. So the motor in the back, it's a 125 kilowatt motor or about 170 horsepower with 250 Newton meters of torque. So pretty good for a vehicle of this size. The battery is underneath the cabin. It's about 51 kilowatt hours. Gives you 350 kilometers of range, by the NEDC standard. So the charging port is over there on the driver's side in the back. It's a Type 2 CCS, meaning it gives you access to the many chargers already available around Metro Manila and hopefully around the country very soon. So under the hood, there's really not much to discuss here because you got a strut bar here connecting the towers, fuse box there, fluids here, washer fluid. This thing here has nothing to do with the drive system. It's actually the AC unit because if you look there, it says Sanden. So yeah, pretty much AC right there. It's just stuff there like power steering and all that. So not much to discuss under the hood. What they really focus here though is when it comes to the weight distribution because by not having that much weight, forward of the axle, it gives you a better balance overall and they balance everything out with the battery underneath and the motor in the back. But the real enemy here is weight because overall the gross vehicle weight of this is about 2.1 metric tons or around 2,100 kilos. That means, of course, with passengers and all that stuff. But still, we should be able to find out if it's a nice drive later on. But first, interior time. The words I would use to describe the interior of this variant of the MG4 is smart, it's functional, it's efficient, and most importantly, it's cost effective. Now, when you look at the things going on with the vehicle, like the way they do the plastics, it doesn't look cheap, but you know that it isn't like the usual you would get from a lot of the Chinese brands that have ambitions of being like real export brands. So you look at the plastic here, it's not fantastic, but it does look good. It uses fabric, not leather. Even the high-end version does not use leather. It uses something else. It uses like PU, polyurethane. So keep that in mind. You're not going to be getting these luxury features we've become used to from a lot of the Chinese brands. And also, you look at the dashboard. If you notice, it looks futuristic, but it's very minimalist in a lot of ways. Like no fancy lines, no fancy trim. It has this floating console for your shifter, but by the way, is right here. So it's PRND. So P right here, and then it's a rotary dial to RND. I'm not going to touch it for now because when I do touch a few things here, the car just shuts off. So keep that in mind. Like if I do that, or I have to press brake to there and then do that. And then if I open the door, the car will shut off. Yeah, to power up the car, you step on the brake. There's no button here. So when you only see that it's ready when you see the ready thing right here on the indicator over there. So keep that in mind. There is a bit of a learning curve with this vehicle. So now getting to some of the design considerations they have here. Let's start with up top. So you have two sun visors, no mirrors. Keep that in mind, which is an unusual feature. It does have this frameless thing here, the mirror, and it's day and night, normal stuff. Sunglass holder with the RFID cards, light here, there, SOS button. Not sure if this is functional yet. Hopefully I never have to put that to use, but I don't think this is functional yet. You have to have a call center for that to work. Now, Looking down here, you've got a 10.25 inch screen here and a smaller screen over here which serves as your driver display. Up here you have a floating console, again with the shifter controls, electronic parking brake. It's got piano black trim here. It's got a pad for my phone, but it's not a wireless kind. But what I like about this is that if you notice, my phone is there and it's got a cable routed through there which is plugged in there to that port, so I can use the Android Auto feature on this in a bit. Down below we've got USB port and then USB-C port here, 12-volt outlet there, 2 cup holders here with an icon for a, I guess a Starbucks latte cup, a tray here with a sliding kind of like those desks of old when I was a kid, the roller Venetian, I don't know what you call it, the cover. A bit of a net here so you can put like your RFID cards. You know what, that's a better place for these RFID cards. So right there, that's pretty good. Center armrest with some papers there. Over in the back, the space there, it's got the same kind of fabric. Nothing really much to report apart from the USB port and the container up here in the back. So still pretty normal, but the space is actually really good there and the cushioning is really nice. Now, on to the features. So the driver display, it has all your information, right? So you have your state of charge right now, it's 91%. My declared range is 334 kilometers. Of course, that adjusts depending on traffic, depending on the heat, your use of the AC and all that, the way you drive. So keep those in mind. It does have features like the traffic sign recognition. Right now, the door is open. You know what? Let's switch to controlling this. So if you notice, on the steering wheel, you have this hat switch here. Well, it has your phone and all that, but this actually is a multifunction one. So you can control this or you can control that. And to switch between the two, you press this button. So right now in that mode, it's switched to this one. And when it's not showing up there, it's switched to the main screen, so I can up the volume or down the volume, go through the next track, that kind of thing. So back to this screen. So we've got all kinds of information being shown to us now. So there. So this one, we have our TPMS. So right now it's showing, it's also got a voltmeter, so 14.2 volts. And then, 2.2 bar, which is about 32 PSI. Except for this one, which is 1.9, that means I need to get some air because that's about 27 PSI. So I'll have to adjust that a little bit later. Now, we have our from the start, which is earlier, a couple of minutes, about an hour ago. Don't mind those numbers because that's not really while we're driving, that's while we're stationary doing our shoot. And then settings, overspeed threshold, brightness level, all that stuff. And then on the left, you have your smart driving features, of course, the lane keep, those kinds of things. We'll list it all down here so we don't miss a single thing when it comes to the features of the vehicle. But the steering wheel is not a leather one, it's a polyurethane one, but it does feel and look good. It is a bit big, but it does have a rather flat top and a flat bottom. It feels pretty sporty for something like this. This 10.25 inch screen is basically all the features condensed into one screen. Everything is here. Your AC, there are no backup buttons that I can see anyway. You only have buttons for your volume, home, the defoggers, and the hazard over there. You only have the on-off switch for the AC here. So really, you control it here. Now, if you go through some of the features, there's pretty much normal stuff. AC, Eco, Auto, all that. It's an automatic climate control unit. Single zone, if I remember correctly, there's no dual zone in this one. So yeah, keep that in mind. And then right beside it, you have your radio, and then you have your charging system here, the state of charge, battery health, all that information is here. And then when you plug in, you can check the status of your vehicle there. You can also see it over here, but this has more information for you to be able to go through if you want. Discharge settings, energy consumption, so you can monitor the way you drive. So the idea here is to be efficient as much as you can. Now, the Android Auto is right here. So let's see what that's like. So your music there, you can go there. What's that? Radio. Anyways. So you have all your features, the Android Auto. Pretty good. I did try the one on the MG1. You do have to pick your cables because their system is very picky with, cheaper cables. So yeah, keep that in mind. Now back home. Down here we've got your ESP here. Remember, they're condensing everything into here. So a lot of the features are in here as well. So your stability control off is here. Not that you would really turn it off. Rear fog light control is here. You can unlock here. I didn't really spot that before. And what else can we see? Not much. So, there you go. Anyways, some of the other features. This one does not come with a rear camera, nor does it come with a 360 camera. It does have rear sensors. So yeah, I mean, those are the features that they did to, keep the cost down as much as they can. But I have to say that, for a vehicle costing 1.4 million, I would have wanted a bit more, overall. Like, to have it not feel so, base model-ish. That's a vibe I'm getting for the vehicle. But as a drive, does it feel like a base model? Well, let's take it out now and find out. I have to say that I'm not as used to base models, as frequently as before, because car makers, they tend to maintain fleets of vehicles that are pretty much top of the line. They don't like lending out the base or lower grade models to media. Sometimes we even have to request it, because personally, I actually like driving base models because it shows me what the vehicle could be or is without any of the accoutrements that make it fancier, that kind of thing. And that certainly is the case with this one. I mean, fabric seats, urethane steering wheel, that says it all right there. But even then, it's actually a nice interior. I mean, it's well built, it looks great, and you're driving around, there's like minimal distractions. It just keeps you nice and focused on the road. And there's nothing really I can say negative about the interior other than that, you're not paying for the high grade features yet in this one, even though it's already close to 1.5 million, this vehicle. But still, the driving experience, off the bat, off of the parking lot, it feels great. EVs typically, like you step on it a little bit, torque is instant, and that's something I really enjoy. Like you jump from one stoplight to another, you kind of just floor it. Sometimes when the road is a bit open, just do it safely, of course. But it puts a smile on your face, the instant torque and instant acceleration that you get. And of course, it's a quiet vehicle. EVs, there's no valves, there's no tappets, there's no rocker arms, no pistons, none of that sort generating noise. There's no explosion happening in an engine because it has no engine. So it's just really the smoothness of the motor. That's really pretty much the only moving part you have here, apart from the fans, if anything. Like when you turn up the AC here, that's really gonna be most of the noise of the vehicle. If anything, you have to pick better tires, because the Kumho Solus, if I remember correctly, some of the vehicles I tried with those tires, in terms of noise, not so good. But this one, we're driving slow. It's all well and good for this kind of driving. But also keep in mind that you don't, unlike the MG1, we're not getting the glass, the higher end glass, the laminated glass for the side. So a bit more noise does come into the cabin, but still, at this price point, we're still looking at pretty much an economy vehicle. It just so happens to be electric. Torque is instant. The handling, well, I'm not so sure about the sports car handling like they put in the brochure, because it is rear wheel drive, and you can get a tail out if you want. I don't think the owner of an MG4 would be doing that on a regular basis, unless maybe you're abroad and you have the longer range Lux variant to be able to give you the extra range and the extra power, because that variant, I think it has like 200 plus horsepower, which is pretty good for a little EV like this. They even have the X Power variant, which I have to say, does it really make sense? Unless you're the type that really wants to floor it all the time. But again, defeats the purpose of having an EV, of being efficient. But if it's about generating like the most powerful EV you can, for the price, I guess that's kind of fun. But still, driving it around, this is what it's meant to do. You're cruising from one place to another, from home to the mall to your office, going about your day, and it's a no frills car. And even though you can't really say it's no frills, it does have the Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all that stuff, but it's all like nicely consolidated in this screen. They did delete two speakers, but can't really tell. I mean, if you want good audio quality, you would upgrade it anyway. And then when it comes to safety, that's one place where they didn't cheap out, because if you look at the spec sheet of this, it's got all the features you would expect out of even the Lux variant. It's pretty much the same in a lot of aspects except for the 360 camera and a few other bits and pieces. But still, it feels good all around. When it comes to the energy consumption, we were averaging, about 22 kilometers per hour on our daily drive around the city, and then average consumption of about 5.4 kilowatts per kilometer, or is it kilometers per kilowatt? Yeah, we'll double check those numbers right about now. I have to say that I can't really speak intelligently about how MG was back in the day, like in the 50s and 60s, because one, I wasn't born yet, and two, well, we've never really encountered that in the Philippine market. And that could be both a good thing and a bad thing, because while most of my knowledge of MG is really down to the magazines, the TV shows, the British TV shows we watched back in the day about cars, in terms of actually driving the older ones, that's only really for a select few. Those who could afford importing those, like back in the 60s and 70s and stuff. That wasn't, my family, and that's actually okay, because it also means that, it's just like many of you, when MG came in, it was more of a fresh perspective. And when they did come in with the previous pre-distributor, the marketing was a bit off, and then came TCCCI. Their marketing was a lot better, and immediately MG ranked in the Philippines because they offered more for less. What more could you ask for in a car? It just captured the market that, hey, for 900,000-ish, I can own an MG ZS crossover. And that proved to be very, very popular with a lot of people, and it's not hard to see why. And with the MG4, they're trying to do the same thing, but with EVs. Now, it does feel a bit more basic than some of the MGs we've driven before. But overall, you're still getting a pretty good EV for this kind of money. And the fact that it's got, 5 seats, got good space, drives well, all the features you really want. It's not one of those cars that, kind of speaks very, very loudly about what, that it's an EV. It just feels like a normal car. And that's what you want. And the pricing, well, this is the pricing of what the Leaf should have been, but never was. It just so happens that, MG has the scale to be able to bring it in at this kind of price. So anyways, so let's go back to the warehouse so we can discuss whether MG1 or MG4. That's going to be an interesting discussion. To EV or to ICE, that is the question. These two vehicles couldn't be more different. One is EV, one is ICE, one's a crossover, one's a hatchback. The feature set inside, completely different. Yes, they are both cars, but in terms of everything else, it's apples and oranges, even in color, red and orange. But we at AutoIndustriya, we enjoy doing these comparisons based on price, because there's nothing apples and oranges about the money we have. We have to get the best out of our money to be able to feel, good about our purchase. And in this one, we're showcasing you two different options that you can get for very similar amounts of money. So in terms of price, nothing really between these two vehicles. It really comes down to what your personal preference is. And if you want something bigger, go with this. It gives you, the freedom and all that stuff. If you want something really efficient for every day and very affordable to maintain, by the way, the maintenance on an EV, nowhere near the cost of maintenance for an ICE. Keep that in mind. The cost of charging this is also lower compared to that. But eventually, hopefully, the charging stations do catch up all around the metro, and hopefully soon, all around the country. But guys, chime in the comments below what you think of the MG4 and the MG1. Which one would you pick and why? This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com.